Hey everyone, and welcome. So if you're an SAP Finance Pro who's making that big leap from ECC to S/4HANA, you already know it's a massive deal. We're going to cut right through all the noise and give you a super clear, focused look at the most critical changes you absolutely need to know about. All right, let's jump right in and break down what's new.
Okay, first things first. You've really got to understand that S/4HANA isn't just ECC with a new logo. Nope, it's a total redesign from the ground up. The whole philosophy here is about simplification and really deep integration, especially for us in finance. The goal? To finally create one single source of truth for all our financial data.
And just to show you how deep these changes go, let's start with a bit of a shocker for anyone who's lived in SAP for years. You know the transaction code XK01 for creating vendors? Well, it's gone. Poof. Obsolete. If that just made you sit up a little straighter, then you are definitely going to want to see the new and frankly, much smarter way this is handled now.
But hang on. Before we dive into all the shiny new things, let's just take a quick breath. A whole lot of your core knowledge is still totally relevant. The foundational stuff, that enterprise structure and finance, they haven't just thrown it all out the window. For example, creating your main legal accounting entity, the company code, that's still done in transaction OX02. So that whole process is exactly the same as you remember it.
And it's the same story for how you group your GL accounts together. You know, using account groups, still managed through OBD4, another core skill you can carry right over.
And defining your posting periods, your fiscal years, with the fiscal year variant in OB29, yep, that's another one of those familiar processes you won't have to relearn. It's still there.
And yeah, as you can see, the list keeps going. Key configurations like company creation, field status variants, posting period variants, and even setting up your vendor account groups and their number ranges, they're all still there. So your core FI setup skills, they are as valuable as ever. Okay, now that we've got that solid foundation, let's get into the first major transformation, the general ledger.
All right, now this is the big one. I mean, the single biggest architectural change in S/4HANA Finance is the unification of financial accounting, FI, and controlling, CO. This completely flips how the general ledger works, and honestly, it's a total game changer.
And look at this. It shows you the old headache perfectly. Back in ECC, you had to create a P&L account in FS00, right? Then you had to go over to KA01 and create a matching primary cost element. You had two separate master data objects you had to praise, state, and sync. Well, S/4HANA just gets rid of that duplication completely. Now it's just one master record, all managed in one place, FS00.
So here's the key takeaway. Cost elements aren't gone, they've just been absorbed. A cost element is now just an attribute, a category of a GL account. This completely kills the redundancy, and maybe more importantly, it means no more reconciliation between FI and CO. Just think about that for your month-end close. They are literally one and the same now.
And here's exactly how they do it. Inside the GL master, in FSN00, there's this new mandatory field called GL account type. This one little dropdown now controls everything. You just tell it if the account is a balance sheet account, a simple P&L account, a primary cost element like for your COGS, or even a secondary cost element for all those internal allocations. It's all managed right there. So simple.
And the integration doesn't even stop there. Remember having to open posting periods for FI, and then you had to go to a totally different transaction, OKP1, to open them for CO? Yeah, that's a thing of the past too. Now both FI and CO periods are controlled together in good old OB52. It's another small change that just makes so much sense.
Okay, let's circle back to that mystery from the beginning, our old friend transaction XK01. The reason it's gone is because of the other huge shift in S/4HANA, the mandatory adoption of the business partner model.
So what on earth is a business partner? Well, it's pretty much what it sounds like. A single, unified master record for anyone you do business with. And the really cool part is that one business partner can have multiple roles. So let's say a company is both your customer and your vendor. You don't need two different master records anymore. You just have one BP, and you assign it a customer role and a vendor role. Simple as that.
And let me be absolutely crystal clear on this. There is no workaround. You cannot create a vendor or a customer directly anymore. The process, from now on, is you create a business partner, you give it the right role, like vendor, and then the system automatically creates the underlying vendor master data for you in the background.
The BP is now the one and only front door.
Now, to get this all working, it does take a bit of one-time configuration. You have to set up your BP roles and groupings, define your number ranges, and this part is super important. You have to configure the synchronization that maps your old vendor account groups to these new BP roles. But once you've set that up, creating a vendor through the BP transaction is totally seamless.
So, we've walked through the two biggest revolutions, right? The unified general ledger and the mandatory business partner. Let's boil all this down into what you really need to remember.
Here are your 4 key takeaways. First up, simplification. That painful manual reconciliation between FI and CO, gone, forever. Second, integration. The GL Master and FSOO is now your one-stop shop for everything. Third, unification. The business partner isn't optional. It's the new mandatory way to handle all your customer and vendor data. And finally, obsolescence. It's time to say goodbye to that muscle memory for transactions like XK01 and KA01 and really embrace this new unified world.
And, this all leads to one final, really important question. These changes, they're not just technical, they're strategic. By getting rid of all this redundant data entry and manual reconciliation, SAP is basically freeing us up from the boring, routine stuff. So the real question is, with a simpler, way more powerful system, where are you going to focus your expertise to drive real value for the business? And that, right there, is the exciting part. Thanks for joining me on this one.